Hello everyone, and welcome to another mystery object answer video on our own devices. I'm Jean Messier, and yesterday I showed you this interesting instrument which I picked up at a thrift store without even knowing what it was. Well, hopefully some of you figured out, as I did, that this is a Wild-Heerbrugg ST4 mirror stereoscope. So on this channel, we've covered a number of different styles of stereoscopes, from the Victorian-era home stereoscope to various models of Viewmasters, to tabletop stereoscopes intended for use with aerial reconnaissance images, which we briefly covered in my video on the book, Evidence in Camera. And this is one of the latter. This is a tabletop mirror stereoscope, which is used for looking at aerial survey images. Now, this is missing a couple of pieces, including a set of extendable legs that would lift this up above the images. So the photographs would be reflected by these mirrors into these prisms and then up through these folding lenses into the viewer's eyes. And the reason for using mirrors is because the field of view for a stereoscope is typically limited by the distance between the viewer's eyes. However, by using mirrors, you can greatly magnify this field of view. So for example, this is intended for use with a pair of 23 by 23 centimeter photographs spaced 25 centimeters apart. So this is actually missing quite a few components, not only the legs, one of which was adjustable in order to level this on an uneven surface, but also a pair of metal flaps to protect the mirrors in storage, and two sets of magnifying eyepieces that would clip on to this bracket here, which also acted as a pencil holder. And those had 3 times and 8 times magnification, respectively, and were adjustable for interpupillary distance from 56 to 74 millimeters. And this could be set up in a number of different configurations. You could have the legs folded and fold up these magnifying lenses, and that would give you a field of view of 110 millimeters. You could have the legs extended and fold these lenses away, and that would give you a field of view of 210 millimeters, or you could leave the legs extended and attach the 3 times magnification eyepiece and get a field of view of 60 millimeters. Now, another accessory that this typically came with was a Parallax measuring bar, and this was a metal rod adjustable in length. The coarse adjustment was 175 to 270 millimeters, while the adjustment on the micrometer screw was 53 millimeters. And on either side of the bar was a glass plate with an aiming mark on it, consisting of a dot, a circle, and a cross. And this allowed you to determine the relative or absolute altitude of different points on an aerial photograph by measuring parallax. And to understand how this works, let's have a look at this diagram. So this shows an aerial camera at a certain altitude over a landscape, where lowercase s is the size of the photographic plate or film, f is the distance between the camera lens and the film, h is the altitude of the camera above the ground, and uppercase S is the width of the area being photographed. From this geometry, we can derive the following ratios. Uppercase M equals 1 to lowercase m equals lowercase s over uppercase s equals f over h, where uppercase M and the ratio 1 to lowercase m is the scale of the photograph. Now, in practice, the altitude of the aircraft when a particular photo is taken is not known with sufficient accuracy, so the sizes of known features on the ground, for example, the spacing between electrical pylons, is typically used instead to determine the true scale of the photograph. However, there is another method for determining the aircraft's altitude above a certain point on the ground, and thus the height of that point, by using the parallax difference between that point on 2 stereo images. So this diagram shows a pair of stereo cameras at altitude h above a certain ground point, and the 2 cameras are separated by distance b, known as the camera base. Once again, f is the principal length of the camera lens. X prime and X double prime are the positions of the ground point as captured by each camera, while P is the parallax, the difference between those 2 apparent positions. Based on this, we can derive the relation H over F equals B over P, or H equals F times B over P, meaning that if the dimensions of the cameras are known and the parallax difference between 2 stereo images of a certain ground point can be measured, the altitude of the aircraft above that point can be determined. And this is where the parallax measuring bar comes in. So how you would use this is you would place the bar above the 2 images underneath the stereoscope and align the aiming marks with the point that you are trying to measure. You would then adjust the length of the bar until the 2 aiming marks on the 2 glass slides align, and then you would read off the distance from the bar, and using the formulas that we just derived, determine the altitude of the camera above that point. And if you can measure the altitude of another point, you can then tell the relative height difference between the two. And if one of those points has a known altitude, say it has been surveyed or it's at sea level, then you can tell the absolute altitude, the absolute height of a particular land feature, which I think is really cool. Now, I wasn't able to pin down the year of introduction for this particular instrument, but the earliest example I've been able to find dates from the late 1950s, which makes sense given the construction and color scheme on this. However, the manual that I used as a major reference for making this video was published in 1995, meaning that this is a very successful and long-lived instrument. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for submitting your guesses. I'll see you next time on a regular video where we'll look at yet more fascinating instruments just like this one. Until then, I'm Jean Messier from Our Own Devices. Have a great day.